Welcome back to Inside the Mac. We got Week 6 preview on hand today. Sounding a little bit better than I was yesterday, but we're still struggling. Taking a look, we're just going to run down through the games again, starting with just the only noon kickoff this week is Ohio heading over to Ball State. And then at 2:30 we got Western Michigan at UMass, and then 3:30 we got three games. Akron hosting Central Michigan, Buffalo hosting Eastern Michigan, Northern Illinois hosting Miami of Ohio, and then at 4 o'clock it is Oklahoma hosting Kent State. All right, so diving into the first one, let's look at Ohio Ball State. What do we think is going to happen there? Ohio is a heavy favorite in this game. They're a 14.5-point spread favorite. If you saw my post today, I have Ohio covering this. I think they do. The one thing that could worry you is Ball State coming off a bye week, but Ohio's playing some really good football right now, and I think Bowling Green, in my opinion, is in the top three right now in the MAC, and Ohio kind of handled them. It was a closer game score wise, but after really the first quarter, there wasn't much doubt that Ohio was going to get it done. So I like Ohio in this one. I think Parker Navarro goes off. They are on the road, not playing at home. But I think they're going to get things going. And Chase Hendricks was held to one catch, and it was a touchdown catch last week. But he went into that game as the leading receiver in college football, so he's not anymore. But I think he goes for a big game, and I just see Ohio kind of handling business pretty handily in that one. And then we go to the 2:30 game, Western against UMass. This one could be interesting. UMass is 0-4. I have them 13th ranked in the power rankings, and all that's true. And Western has looked good. They upset Toledo, and all that's great. They're coming off another big win, 2 in a row. Brock Lowry's been looking really good. But UMass does have a legitimately good offense. They can do things offensively, and they can score some points. They can get a lot of yards. They can put you in uncomfortable positions. And Western's traveling to Massachusetts, so they could be interesting. The spread is 13.5. I don't know if Western covers that. I do think Western wins that ball game. Not sure if they quite cover it. It'll be interesting to see. And then we go to the 3:30 slate where we got three games. Akron hosting Central Michigan. Central Michigan opens as a 7.5-point favorite. Well, it all comes down to does Ben Finley play or not, and we still don't have an update on that. Saturday morning, I think it's 4 hours before the games. I could be corrected on that. Last year is when it started that the MAC had to post inactives list and injury waivers and reports and all that stuff. But we still have no knowledge if Ben Finley's playing or not. If he is playing, I think that does add a little bit of a difference to the Akron offense, especially with them playing at home. They've shown that they can play pretty good football at home. Gant is a stud at the tailback. What I do think is interesting is Central is so hard to scheme against just because you can't really make mistakes. And Eastern kind of found that out the hard way of it wasn't a blowout 24-13, but at no point was Eastern in control of that game because Central just pounds the football. They play smash mouth football. They control the clock, and you get them into these 3rd and 3s constantly, and they continue to get it, and then they break the big one. Nari Biggins really had kind of a welcome game, got his first touchdown. And, Angel Flores is showing that this two-quarterback system is not really a two-quarterback system, but kind of their wildcat guy. And, I've said it earlier this week, Central to me is a contender. They're a contender for that MAC championship, and they have a favorable schedule to get to Ford Field. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Nugget over here, he watched that Central Eastern game with me. He's a big Central fan, but it'll be interesting. I don't. It's hard to say whether or not Central covers at 7.5. I'm going to say right now I do think Central wins this ball game, but with whether or not Ben Finley starting to me is going to be kind of the telltale sign of do I think Central covers or Akron covers, or what gives Akron more of a chance to win this ball game. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll see Saturday morning when that all gets released, but right now it's still undisclosed if he's playing. If I had to assume, I'd say I think he is, but I just don't know. And then we go to the next 3:30 game, Buffalo at Eastern Michigan. Boy, this is a show me game for both schools. Eastern kind of needs to correct their ways after a stalemate against Central. And Buffalo has not been able to. They've started games really, really well. They have not been able to finish a game. So this is going to be a big test of can you finish a ball game? Can you get a W? We'll see. We'll see. This is their second game in the MAC, but you want to see them finish a game fully and play it through. Taquan Roberson, I do think he's playing. That was the only news we got on any quarterback injury was that he's probable to return. So banking on him returning, but it's one of those things you can't guarantee it. So we'll have to see how that plays out. The 10.5 point spread for Buffalo, I don't know. They just haven't, even when Roberson's been in the game, they haven't really proven that they're an offensive juggernaut. And maybe this is the game that they get things clicking. Offenses always take a little bit into the season to really get things going. But I don't know. This game, to me, is interesting. I think Buffalo wins it. Do they cover? I don't know. My heart says yes, but I have believed in Buffalo a lot of times and gotten burned for it. So we'll find out. And then the game of the week, we'll cover a little bit more in depth here in a moment. But Miami of Ohio at Northern Illinois. It's a 4.5 point spread there. Miami of Ohio as the favorite. I think they win this game. A cover, I don't know, just because Northern Illinois' defense is legit. They are a very good defense, and Miami of Ohio has. I got pushback on calling them the most explosive offense. Most explosive offense doesn't mean best offense, and that there may be confusion there. When I say Miami of Ohio has the most explosive offense, what I'm saying there is behind the back of Tracy, Cam Perry, when DeQuan Finn's in the game, these are explosive players that can make explosive plays. Am I saying they're the best offense? No. They could be. By the end of the season, we could look and say, yeah, that's the best offense. They have the dudes to do it. They're the most explosive. I don't know if they're fully capable of putting together these just, Central Michigan type drives. But at any point, they can explode one for a big play. And so I got pushback on that, and that's fair. I love the criticism. I love the conversation. But when I'm saying explosive offense, I'm not saying best offense. What I'm saying is that I think they have the most playmakers around them to make an explosive play. And Northern Illinois' defense is legit and can do things. So that'll be interesting, and we'll dive more into that one in a second. And then Kent State, Oklahoma, it's a 45.5 point underdog for Kent State. Do I think they cover? I don't know. I don't think, but you never know with those. So diving a little bit more into the Miami of Ohio game, ESPN's analytics that they do gives a 54.6% chance for Miami of Ohio to win, a 45.4 for Northern Illinois to win. Plus 175 Northern Illinois in the money line, minus 210 for Miami of Ohio. The over/under is at 38.5, which is really interesting if you actually if you watched Vegas lines or you sports bet at all. That's a really interesting over/under because that's incredibly low. And the reason behind that is because of Northern Illinois Huskies. I'm gonna pull up some stats here from their team stats because they're an impressive defense to say the least. And Nugget is just eating at the hands right now. Offensively, they average 251 yards a game. That's not, by any stretch of the imagination, super impressive. It's not anything, that they're not explosive, whatever you can say about that. But what I will say is that their defense makes up for the lack of offense. They're averaging giving up 20.3 points a game, and I can't find the yardage stats, but they're not giving up a ton of yards. I mean, we'll just go through game by game here real quick. For week 1, they gave up 217 yards to Holy Cross, which that's not that many. And then they had a gauntlet a bit where they played Maryland. They gave up 340 yards to Maryland, and 340 yards is not a bad day, but against a Power 4 team, that's kind of impressive. Then they went to the SEC and gave up 452 to Mississippi State, who just went to overtime with my team, the Vols, and then they took on San Diego State in a game they lost, but they gave up 266. So this is a team that they're not giving up yards. And they're, in the games they gave up 20 points to Maryland, 38 to Mississippi State, 20 to Maryland is less than they were projected to give up. 38, I think, was still less than they were projected to give up. And then 6. So this is a really interesting game. It's why it's the game of the week. It's going to be a battle. And I think the key to this game comes down to if DeQuan Finn's back. I think Henry Hessen's a good player, and he could get the win as well. But for Miami of Ohio, what it's going to come down to is that explosion, is that explosive offense. Try and create those plays. Try and get guys in space. What San Diego State and I thought Northern Illinois on their offensive side did the same problem was they just tried to force things to work. And when you over and over and over, Buffalo ran into this last week too. If a play's not there or you can't get one of your guys going, okay, adjust, halftime adjust, and move on from it. Try and make things work. And I don't think Northern Illinois or San Diego State did that in last week's ball game. It was just run on first, run on second, and then try and throw one on third, and they know a pass is coming so they can sit in coverage. And it was a dull game to watch, to be honest with you. But this one I think is going to be interesting because Northern Illinois has put on a defensive masterclass, and Miami of Ohio has yet to really have that game that's their show-me game. And this is their first game, both teams' first game in the MAC. And this is kind of going to be a telltale of, I think, Northern Illinois is that mid-2 trying to reach that higher tier. I think Miami of Ohio is sitting at the bottom of the higher tier of the MAC. So this is a game for both teams to kind of, hey, show me. Show me. So that'll be an interesting game. I'm very, very excited for that one. Rapid fire. Here's my MAC predictions. Ohio Ball State. I got Ohio. Western Michigan at UMass. I got Western Michigan. Central Michigan at Akron. I got Central Michigan. Eastern Michigan traveling to Buffalo. I got Buffalo. Northern Illinois hosting Miami of Ohio. I have Miami of Ohio. And then Oklahoma is hosting Kent State. And I got to go with Oklahoma in that one. That is my Week 6 MAC predictions. We will have more on that tomorrow as I'll go more in depth on some of these games. That is all for me today here on Inside the MAC.